Is it worth shooting in 4K in 2021, or should we stick with Full HD instead? That's the question we're going to try to answer right after this. What's up guys, thanks so much for coming here today. My name is Bandicoot, I'm a French video maker based in London, UK. And before we start answering the question, just a quick reminder about what 4K is. In video making, 4K stands for the resolution that you have on your horizontal axis, which is roughly 4000 pixels. There are many different kinds of 4K, but the one that you're going to see the most is 3840 times 2160. I hope I got it right. It's basically 4 times as much resolution than Full HD. So if Full HD is this, 4K is this. There are many advantages to shooting in 4K, especially if your output video is going to be in Full HD. Because you have so many pixels available, so much resolution available. During your editing process, you're going to be able to reframe your shot on the left, on the right, top or bottom, in case you messed it up when you shot it, without any loss of quality. Or even better, you're going to be able to zoom in the picture by 200 or even 300% in order to have kind of a different angle within the same shot. Finally, another good side to shooting in 4K, it's going to open the door to many different effects you're going to be able to make. For instance, the parallax effect. You know, in movies when you have the background that seems to go further away from your subject or closer to your subject without actually seeing the subject moving. You basically achieve this effect by changing the distance between the camera and the subject at the same time as your focal distance. But if you're shooting in 4K, you don't have to change the focal distance because you can actually zoom in the picture instead of zooming with your lens. Does that make sense? If you'd like me to explain a bit more about the parallax effect, just let me know in the comments and I might just make a full video about it. Alright, so all of those great features to shooting in 4K come to a price. Obviously, you're going to have to invest in a better camera that can shoot in 4K, but you will also need to upgrade your whole environment. You will need a better computer in order to be able to edit the footage on your editing software, a better GPU or even getting an external GPU, but you will also need more hard drives in order to store all of this footage. You will need bigger and faster memory cards in order to be able to record the footage internally in your camera. And when you shoot in 4K, depending on the camera that you have, it might actually overheat if you shoot for a longer period of time. So you might want to be careful with that. Finally, if you shoot in 4K, you will have less options in terms of frame rates. So for instance, with the camera that I'm using to shoot this video, the Sony a7S Mark III, you're going to be able to shoot in 4K at 120 FPS in order to get up to 4 times slow motion. But if I were to shoot in Full HD, I would be able to crank it up to 240 FPS to have up to 8 times slow motion. So to conclude this video and to answer the question, is it worth shooting in 4K? You need to ask yourself what your video is for. You need to ask yourself on which device your audience is going to be watching the video. If you're shooting a video just for mobile social media like Instagram, TikTok, or even Facebook nowadays, then you don't necessarily need to export your video in 4K because your audience is going to be watching the video on a Full HD screen anyway. But if you're making videos that are meant to be watched on fancier displays like a TV or a 4K computer display, then you might want to export the video in 4K. Personally, I would always shoot in 4K just because it gives you access to all of these features that I mentioned earlier, and I also think that it just looks better when you downscale a video from 4K to Full HD anyway. It is for sure a heavier and more expensive process, but I think that it's worth it. Alright guys, so we're nearly at the end of this video. For each of my videos on this YouTube channel, I'm gonna be using a song from an indie artist that I met. This video's soundtrack is brought to you by the extremely talented Valerio Lysander. I highly recommend you go and check out his music. I will put the link in the description below. Go and check it out. I hope you learned something today, and if you still haven't done it, please consider subscribing to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button and on the little bell next to it to get the notifications. That would be super helpful for the channel. Alright, that's it for me for now. Until next time, I leave you with Valerio Lysander.
As they run faster, time don't stop them.